Like to call to order the,
Recording in progress.
like to call to order the September 11th, 2025 Public Works Committee. Roll call, please.
Chairman Lockmiller,
Here.
Alderwoman Tice.
Here.
Alderwoman Gold,
Here.
Alderman Erger.
Got our agenda in front of us. Could we just pass it by acclamation? Sounds good. Move on to citizen comment. I see no one out there in the seats. Do we have anybody online?
There's no one on Zoom.
Have another chance at the end of the meeting if there's anyone out there. Move on to reports of committee chairs and aldermen. I have no report. Alderwoman Tice,
No report.
Alderwoman Goad,
No report.
Alderman Erger. I'll get it
Erger,
right
no,
sometime.
no report.
All right, move on to item number 5, which is department reports. Start with our Parks and Recreation Department. Eric?
Evening. A few things real quick for the department report. The first is we've gotten a couple of requests for Brentwood Days wristbands. The Brentwood High School was asking for 5 free wristbands. They're going to use them. They would like to use them for a prize at a contest that they're going to do at halftime of homecoming, which is Friday of Brentwood Days. So they're just hoping to get 5 Saturday wristbands to be able to give that out. And then second is St. Mary Magdalene. They are asking if their non-residents who attend the school could purchase wristbands so that they could attend Brentwood Days with their classmates who are Brentwood residents. We recommend approving both of those requests, and we think those are both reasonable requests.
Any questions regarding, I guess just by nay or yay, or yay or nay, if we approve of, go ahead and giving the wristbands to the 2 schools?
Yes.
All right, seems like we're all in favor, Eric.
Thank you so much. The next is just a kind of conversation about the summer concert series and Saturdays in the Park. So those are 2 different events that we've been doing the last 2 years. And to be honest, the summer concert series, the attendance is usually dependent on things such as weather, the band, what's going on in St. Louis and things like that. So we're not quite satisfied with the attendance we've been getting, but we know that we have a good attendance, but we feel like it'd be better. Saturdays in the Park are going really, really well. We get about 700 to 1,000 people every Saturday. Some of them are coming just to come in the park. Others are coming to come for the different things that we're doing in the park. So our special events person came up with the idea of, hey, what if the other things are Friday night and Saturday, they're back to back. Bad planning on our part. But one of the things that Cheryl, our special events person, thought of was, what if we kind of combined them and looked at something like maybe, we love alliteration, Parks and Recreation, so something like Pack the Park. And so we would actually have a concert with the activities going around at the same time. It gives kids something a little bit more to do. For the parents, they can sit down and listen to the band. And then kind of playing with the idea of maybe do we look at a different day? Do we look at maybe a Thursday night? Do we look at maybe a Saturday or Sunday midday? To see if we can get kind of that lunch crowd before maybe families go out and do something at night. So that's what we're kind of thinking of. But obviously we didn't go very far because we wanted to see what the committee thought of this idea before we went any further. If it's something you guys want us to do more research on, we could do that and bring it back next month and then see if it's something that we want to move forward with for 2026.
Eric, regarding this issue? Go ahead, Michelle.
I've gone to a couple of the concerts. They're always very nicely done. I think it might draw a slightly different crowd than some of the Saturday in the Park groups, just demographically.
It would. It'd be more families, we think, instead of strict adults.
I'm open to ideas. Like, I appreciate the creative thinking. I love that you're exploring. I kind of like making sure there's opportunity. We don't condense all of our eggs into one time slot. So if Friday's not the day, I'm not opposed to it at all. That would be a bit my 2 cents. And then another case study I'd heard for a concert series somewhere else that had been struggling was they picked a type of music. So they had previously done, it was, a bit of a free-for-all, different styles every night. They picked, it's like jazz or blues or something, and so they called it a blues, whatever version it was, and marketed it in that vein. they got success with that. So something to think about, but I'm not opposed to if we combine, but I did enjoy the fact that it was another day or night to have an opportunity to do something. But if it doesn't make sense on numbers or finances to do 2 nights, I would be okay combining.
Go ahead. As far as the food trucks go, is it hard to get them for the evening?
It is harder to get them for a Friday night evening. Food trucks are notoriously unreliable. It's the good or bad. They want to be wherever crowds are. And so they have no problem canceling the day of if they got a better offer to go somewhere else. Our hope is that the people who've come to Saturdays in the Park have been very happy. They've gotten a lot of business, and they ask about coming back and doing things like that. The Friday night, Saturday nights are a little bit more difficult because there are other places, such as Frankie Martin's Garden or 9 Mile Garden, where they have a natural crowd built right in that will come and utilize them. So it is something we're looking at. We continue to work with the food trucks to try to see what we can do. We keep shoving our data into them, like, hey, on a Friday night, even if the summer concert only has X number of people, the park usage is showing that there's over 1,200 people. So that's the things we try to keep shoving to them to make them come. But you ask anyone, they have the same problem with food trucks all over the city.
So would this all run in conjunction with each other, or would it be like earlier the park festival, and then later on it would be the music, and later in the afternoon? Or
I think we expand the time a little bit, where that first part, when people come a little bit early to try to get seats and sit down, things like that, maybe that's when we have some of the more children activities going around. Still do things during the concert as well, but when that gives the chance for adults to kind of come, sit, relax, let their kids wander off. We thought the playground would help do that naturally when we moved the summer concert series over there, and it is. A lot of kids are going over there at night during the summer concert series, but it's the kind of idea of we're trying to think, is there a better way to do this?
I do have so what time are you thinking on Saturday? Because sitting outside in the afternoon sun to hear a concert, it doesn't sound
Trust me,
appealing for people at any age.
That's the questions I brought up. I'm like, hey, time, age, sun, all that stuff. And again, we didn't get too far into the conversation because we want to make sure there's a desire to actually do it. We'll have those conversations. Maybe we look at, instead of June, July, August, maybe we do an April, May type of different timeline. These are all things we're throwing out. But I didn't want my staff to go crazy coming up with ideas until we got concurrence that, hey, let's think about it, bring it back in the future for further discussion.
The only other thing I'd add is I know I've received a couple complaints from residents when the music's at night. So if this was more in the afternoon, maybe it'd be less disruption to some of the residents over there.
Possible.
All right.
All right, just a quick update that Castle Contracting completed the erosion repairs in Brentwood Park. They're in and out of there in a week, and they did a really nice job. We've been over there. Haven't seen it in action yet. Been having a tad bit of a dry spell. Not rushing to see it in action, but next time it rains, I will be over there kind of seeing how everything's going. And then just a couple updates about some requests for proposals. We always have a few contractors on hand or on call for different things. And 2 of them, their 5-year contracts are up this year. So the HVAC preventive maintenance service, as well as the ice refrigeration service, are both up. So we'll be putting out those RFPs hopefully this month, end of this month, early next month, and bring them to you guys in either October or November for a January 1 start. Great, thank you.
Sure. Move on to planning and development report from Whitney.
Good evening. So the monthly reports was included in your weekly activity report last week. In August, there was 201 new building permits submitted. and 1,038 inspections. Code enforcement had a total of 15 new cases and a total of 30 new inspections. Since we have the open code enforcement position, we have reassigned all of the inspectors by ward. So they will be taking on all code enforcement and building inspections within that ward. Of course, John and Chris, our senior inspector, will then handle most of the commercial. And then when someone's out, they will help fill in on the other areas. So that was a structural change in our department. I just wanted to provide that update. Since we don't have the code enforcement officer position, we are looking to request changing that, reclassifying that position to a planner position. With the adoption of the residential design guidelines, I need help in reviewing all of the building codes, building permits that come in to make sure they comply with all the zoning regulations and with the design guidelines, and be able to answer the questions and phone calls that come at the window, like zoning, those kind of questions. So we're putting that in our budget request for 2026. So the Planning and Zoning Commission met last night, and they recommended approval in the comprehensive sign plan for the Good Clean Dog at 1234 Hanley Industrial Court, as well as the text amendment for the solar panels, clarifying that language. So that will be on the October 6th for a public hearing. On September 15th, just a reminder, we will have the public hearing and first review of the 2024 ICC codes. And then the Architectural Review Board, we did not have a quorum for the 18th, so that is canceled. We have rescheduled it for the 25th. So we've sent out public notices for that. And that's all I have.
Whitney, I know we just did residential guidelines. Is planning and zoning going to start on commercial?
Yes, I've been communicating with Tim to get a time frame. I think they're finishing up some preliminary drawings. So as soon as I get a time frame from him, we will get that going for the public workshop, yeah.
Oh, and was that in this year's budget? Was that part of the design guideline
Yes.
budget for this year? So it's
Yes.
not something new for
Right.
next year's budget? Okay, great, thank you.
Else for Whitney? Thank you, Whitney. I believe there's no report for Sustainability Commission. We'll move on to Dan at the Public Works Department with his report.
I got several miscellaneous projects to update you on. So the first one, McKnight Road, that was taken to public safety. There's an agreement that's tied to it. So this is for the pilot program for the crosswalk. I'll be bringing that to the board so we can move forward with that project. So if you recall, that's similar to the one we have over at the YMCA, but it's got more features to it. The next one, Ameren Renewable Solutions Program, we brought that through Ways and Means. I sent a letter to Ameren and they acknowledged it. So that's for the binding agreement that was or will be due on September 18th, I believe. So we're not going to do it. But I did ask them if there's other ideas that they have in the future for sustainability. So they'll reach out to us if they have any. 288 Hanley Industrial Court, I know everyone's aware that we have a tenant in there now. They moved a few people in there into the offices. There's a piece of cutting equipment that uses high pressure water to cut their signs. So that got moved in. I know we contacted our plumber and electrical folks that we usually use. There was a thermostat that wasn't working, so that got fixed. There was an office that had something wrong with the breaker, so that was fixed. Everything's working. Last thing we have to do is the roof. So there's a couple areas that I guess the May storms may have blown a section of ceramic tile from the area between the warehouse and the garage, and it poked holes in the roof. That's why we had a little bit of water damage, so that's going to get fixed. And then lastly, there's a potential for a vehicle charger. The Brentwood School District is exploring a larger and a smaller bus to put a charger in. They're kind of landlocked, so they really don't have the space to just park alongside High School Drive or something with a bus. So there could be a possibility that we put something over there, and then in the future, once we eventually move in there, you would just have a charger for any EVs that Public Works would have. So first we need to explore to figure out what sizes they need. I don't see why they couldn't fit there because Pitney Bowes had 18-wheelers that used the loading dock, which that would be shorter than a bus, or longer than a bus. So bus would definitely fit there. So that's something we'll be bringing back once we have more information. 2832 Manderley Drive. I know I spoke with the city attorney. He is working through the process. There's only 2 property owners. One of them he's already talked to. The other one he's going to talk to them because we still need the temporary construction easements and we also need the permanent easement rights to go in there and straighten out that retaining wall. I know he had already gotten quotes for it, so I'll just have to refresh those if we get the 2 property owners to approve it. Then I can just refresh the quotes, and it's through Sourcewell, so it's a consortium. I don't need to do a full-fledged RFP because it's the best price. And then switching gears to stormwater bid package 1, I had sent a request to Gonzalez. They had a lump sum in there. Normally we do an itemized bid tab, so they're going to work through that process so that it'll have pipe, fittings, if there's any grading, stuff like that, just similar to what we've done for like Russell STP and other projects. That way, if some of those quantities change, we can either get a deduct or an addition. Instead of lump sum, would just hold it to that amount. The RFQ for traffic engineering services, this is something we haven't done for quite a while. So I've been here 9 years and I know we've used the same firm. So I looked through some notes. It looks like it's been a little over 10 years that we've used the same firm, and there is only one firm. So I was writing an RFQ so that we could select from up to 3 different traffic engineers if you needed to do a report, if you needed to do something with trails or some kind of proposal, like say an STP submission that we need to do. So I'll be bringing that back around. I'll solicit qualifications and then bring that back to you once we figure out who that group is. Strassner Drive, didn't want you to think I forgot that. That's that decorative light that's on the berm. I know the electrician has parts of it, but not the whole thing. So I believe he's got the top part and the base plate, but not the post. And once that ships out, probably in another week, he'll have all the parts and then he can go in there sometime in September and reassemble it. I know the other lights are working, but there is one that's missing. There's 5 total and one's gone. And then lastly, keeping with lights, Manchester Road, we're waiting on our quote. There's a damaged street light leaning over by that self-storage property, but then there's also a cabinet that was struck last year. It still works, but I need it to be more weather tight, so we may have to replace that cabinet. That's it.
Questions for Dan?
Okay.
All right, Dan,
Thanks.
thank you. Move on to the consent agenda. We do not have any items under that. No old business. Move on to new business. This is regarding Brentwood Park Playground landscaping and erosion. That's you, Eric.
Yeah, excuse me, trying not to cough into the mic. We've been about a year, a little bit over a year with the opening of the Destination Playground. And as I've told Bull a few times, and I tell my staff, I'm terrible when I go out to Brentwood Park because I only see the things that need to be fixed. I can't enjoy the overall beauty of everything. And so one of the things we've noticed is really we were watching that first year at the playground to see, one, how kids were going to play with it, because you set up ways for playgrounds to go, and then kids will tell you how they want to play with it. Adults too, which is interesting. And so we've seen kind of what has happened after rain events and what's been happening with water runoff in some different places. And there's some things that we feel probably needs to be taken care of pretty quickly. I did put some pictures in Diligent for you guys to look at, just so you kind of see what we're talking about. But what we basically determined was 3 basic things. Is there's water runoff on the hillside, and it's kind of cutting a channel right next to it, so where the concrete is. And the way to kind of repair that is kind of put a concrete runnel, so you force the water down that concrete runnel and then straight into a drain. So that's one of the things we could do. The other thing is some water runoff in some different areas, especially around the family fun area. If you've been there after a good rain, you'll notice that the poured in place surface will have a lot of mulch on it. And that's because the water's just coming through that top, the drains are at the bottom. And so one of the things we've talked about with that is fixing or adding an inlet in that area and then correcting some inlets at the bottom of the area too. So to kind of make sure that the water stays where we want it to go and not push that mulch out onto the playground and onto the pathway. And the last is we've had a lot of plants damaged by kids, more adults, ironically, than kids. It's amazing how many adults will just step on plants. It's kind of sad. And so one of the things we've talked about with SWT is maybe just going in with a larger plant. That was the idea to begin with, is that those plants will come in and they will grow, and that will then dictate where people go. And so instead of kind of waiting for those plants to go up and crying and cursing kids under your breath, we could, put those larger plants in and then help direct that. There was thought of maybe being able to put some fencing into that will help direct the kids as well. That would kind of mimic what's at the fort. We're kind of seeing if we can do that. That is still something we're looking at, and we'll look at how much that costs. If the cost is high, then we'll probably not recommend that, because then we'll work on directing the kids the other ways. So we kind of talked to SWT about that. They did some design. We took that design to Castle because they are our on-call general construction service contractor, and they gave us a price of about $40,000 to do the inlets and the concrete runnel. We feel like this would be good for the playground. Make sure they'll continue to keep it in pristine condition, and then really staff will deal with the plantings on our own in the fall. We'll pick up some bigger plants and then put those in here in the next couple months. So that is a recommendation. I say this a lot. We'll be using money that we saved for the parking lot. We've basically, with this, we'll have spent about 160 of that $400,000. So there's still money left. That's including this 40,000. So there still is money left from that project if we want to use that. So that is my recommendation, and we'd like to move this to the Board of Aldermen for approval.
Questions for Art?
I have no problem moving it forward, but when it moves forward, could you provide drawings of when you say concrete, like what I have a vision in my mind about like the concrete runnel, where that exactly goes with like diagrams or pictures. Same for the modifications, for the inlets, just they would go here and here.
SWT did provide drawings. I don't know if they'll be exactly everything you want, but I can kind of walk those through at the board level too. So yes,
Okay,
that's an
thank
easy
you.
one. Sorry.
Questions? Well, I'd entertain a motion to have Castle Contracting do the work of the new installations and some of the concrete work down at Brentwood Park.
So moved.
Second.
Let's just do all in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, Eric.
Thank you so much.
Move on to the second citizen comment. Nobody's here, but anybody out there? Did you have a question?
Yes.
Oh,
They're amazing. They're so fun.
That was my comment, was that they're the talk of the neighborhood. They're wildly popular. People are getting a kick out of them. Just like there was a group picnicking there last night to have dinner with their kids and the goats. It was darling, but wildly popular. And people are walking on the trails being like, have you seen the goats? So
Yeah, there
wildly
was-
popular.
There was a family coming out of the house, and the girl was so excited, and I was joking with her. I'm like, you have the best house in Brentwood because you're right in front of the goats. And she was super excited. So it's a great community building thing. So thank you.
nobody online, Octavia?
No, I don't have anyone online.
All right, well, if no other business, we'll adjourn.